Most buyers in Chicago are looking for the wrong type of property because the smartest property you can buy here isn't a house. And most people completely underestimate how powerful it actually is. I've helped many people relocate here, and the ones who buy this type of property usually end up in a much stronger financial position 5 years down the road. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what to look for, how to buy one smart, and why so many people hold on to these for decades. Most people start their search the same way. They look for houses, and almost instantly, reality hits. Prices feel high, payments feel heavy, taxes look intimidating here, so they compromise. But what most buyers don't realize, they're searching for the wrong type of property. Now, the property that quietly puts people in a stronger financial position is the Chicago 3-flat. So let's start with what they actually are. A Chicago 3-flat is pretty much what it sounds like. 3 separate residential units stacked vertically inside one building. Each unit has its own entrance, kitchen, living space, and bedrooms. Think of it like owning a house plus 2 built-in renters, helping you cover most of your mortgage. Now, most people walk past them and just see an apartment building. But if you've lived here long enough, you start to realize you're actually looking at a gold mine. And the best part, they're everywhere across the city, which means you can choose the exact neighborhood you want to live in and still make the numbers work. So now that you know what a Chicago 3-flat is, let's talk about how to spot a good one, because not all of them are created equal. The first thing you want to pay attention to, especially if you're relocating, is location. Because you're not just buying an investment, you're choosing where your daily life is going to happen. You want an area that fits your lifestyle, your commute, and your routine, but also somewhere renters consistently want to live, because demand always drives rent, right? Think of being close to transit, restaurants, job centers, or just walkable areas. That's usually a strong sign you're in a good location. Once you figure out which neighborhood fits your lifestyle, the next thing that really matters is how the building lives day to day. And that truly comes down to layout. A 3-flat can be in a great neighborhood and still really underperform. And most time, it's because of the layout. Renters want good natural light, real usable bedrooms, functioning kitchens, and a layout that makes sense when you walk through it. Now, most Chicago 3-flats, they kind of have a similar footprint. They'll change from time to time. It's a front living space, bedrooms on the right or left side, and the kitchen's toward the back. And that layout usually works really well. Now, the difference between a good layout and a bad one kind of comes down to flow. Do the rooms actually feel usable? Are the bedrooms real size bedrooms, not just technically legal? Does the kitchen feel functional, or is it kind of squeezed in? If the layout feels awkward to you, it's going to feel awkward to the tenants too. By the way, if you're thinking of relocating to Chicago or the suburbs, this is what I do every single day. So feel free to give me a call here or sign up for my weekly newsletter right here. And once the layout checks out, now you got to look deeper at some things that people overlook. And it's the expensive stuff that can really hurt your wallet. This is what I call the backbone of the building, the mechanicals and the major systems. Because this is where a property either quietly makes you some money or it starts quietly draining your money. Now, starting with the roof, a new roof is a huge plus. An older one isn't necessarily a deal breaker, but you need to know its age and its condition. That's one of the biggest expenses you can face as an owner. Now in Chicago, most 3-flats have flat roofs, while garages are usually still shingled. Flat roofs aren't bad at all, they're just a little bit different. They require proper sealing, maintenance, and drainage. So you want to know exactly when the last time it was coated, maintained, or replaced, because small issues up there can turn into expensive water problems fast for all the tenants below. Then look at heating systems. Is it a boiler? Are there furnaces? How old are they? Have they been maintained? Heating systems are one of the also most expensive things to replace here. So you need to know what you're inheriting. You'll often see large boiler systems in basements of these buildings. They can work well, but they also can take up significant amount of space. In some buildings, the mechanical layout could limit how usable that basement really is. So if you're thinking about finishing the basement later or adding value there, the setup that boiler system has and how much space it takes can truly impact you. Now, electrical is another big one. In these older 3-flats, you'll sometimes see outdated panels or shared electrical systems. Ideally, each unit should have its own updated electrical panel and its own meter. That makes building super clean, you avoid tenant disputes, and it makes future upgrades or renovations much, much simpler. Now, if the electrical hasn't been modernized, upgrades can kind of get expensive, especially here. Now, if the service needs to be increased or you need more panels, you're going to be paying a ton of money. Plumbing is another area you don't want to gloss over, especially in these older buildings. A lot of these 3 flats are built 80, 100, 120 years ago. While they're often updated over time, the original sewer lines are made of clay here. Clay isn't bad, but it's brittle. It's everywhere. It can crack, shift, or allow tree roots to gain entry. And that's why scoping the main sewer before you buy is the most important. It's not expensive to check it, but it can save you from a very expensive repair if you didn't check it in the first place. And don't overlook the windows. When you're touring, actually open them. Check the seals. See how they feel. In these older buildings, aging windows can impact your insulation, your comfort, and the long-term costs. None of these are really deal breakers on their own, but together, they tell the story of how well that building was cared for. Many of these buildings have been owned for decades, 30 plus years. And if they've been maintained really well, that's usually when you're going to have fewer surprises, fewer emergency calls, and a much smoother ownership experience. I promise you. Then once the big systems check out, that's when you can start paying attention to finishes. This is where some people really misunderstand what actually matters. Because finishes, they don't need to be luxury to be effective. Tenants usually aren't looking for super high-end Miele appliances, but they're looking for clean, updated, and functional. Things like hardwood flooring, updated kitchens, clean bathrooms, good lighting, that makes the unit feel more comfortable and move-in ready. And that matters because the units that tend to feel fresh rent faster, and sometimes for even more money. Outdated finishes don't automatically mean a bad property. In fact, sometimes that's where opportunity lies, because cosmetic updates are usually the easiest improvements to make if you're handy, and they can increase value very quickly. What you want to pay attention to isn't whether the property looks good today, but it's whether it has potential to be great with the right updates. When you combine solid mechanicals with clean finishes, that's when a property really starts to work for you. So once you know how to evaluate a 3 flat physically, the next step is understanding how to buy one really smart. Finding a good building is only half the equation. Buying it correctly is actually what determines whether it's a good investment or not. The first thing you want to do is run the numbers before you fall in love with any of these properties. Look at real rental comps or the current rental rolls, realistic expenses, maintenance costs, taxes, and insurance. Because the math doesn't work on paper now, it almost never does later. Now the second piece is financing. One of the biggest advantages of buying a 3 flat is that if you live in one of the units, you qualify for owner-occupied financing, which means lower down payments, better interest rates than a pure investment loan. And if you're a veteran, VA loans can be especially powerful here, often allowing little to no money down and no PMI. That's one of the reasons so many smart buyers start with small multifamily units instead of single family homes. It gives them more leverage from day one. But the bigger advantage is long-term thinking here. Don't just focus on today's payments. Think about the property and what it can be in 5 or 10 years. Rising rents, equity in the building, and the option to move out and keep it as a rental. But the real advantage of a 3 flat isn't just where it is today, it's what the property is going to become over time. And when you combine the solid building, smart financing, and long-term thinking, that's when a property really starts working for you, instead of the other way around. Let me show you what that actually looks like in real life. There's an $800,000 3 flat right here in Dunning. 2 of the units are 3 bedrooms renting for $2,185 and $2,000. That's $4,185 coming in every month. With 3.5% down and today's rates, including your taxes, insurance, and your PMI, you're around $5,700 a month. If you live in the 3rd unit, that means you're effectively living in Chicago for about $1,500 a month. And you own it. And here's one thing most people don't think about. Once you own a building like this, you control the upside. As rents rise over time, your mortgage stays relatively stable. That spread is where long-term wealth starts to build for you. And even small things like renting out the garage spaces for a little bit extra money, the laundry income, makes for a little more upside for you. Here's the part people don't always talk about. Owning one isn't passive. You're going to deal with tenants, repairs, unexpected costs. Things will break and you're going to need some reserve money. But if you understand that trade-off going in, that's usually where the long-term advantage will pay off. Now, I've had people come back to me years later and tell me buying their first multifamily was the smartest decision they've ever made, and how much money they're now cash flowing from it. So if you're thinking of moving to Chicago, then watch the next video where I talk about the 6 things you need to know before moving here. And I'll see you there.